Hi, I'm Jenny Allnut. Welcome to Starting Over After a Job Loss. This is a pre-recorded workshop, therefore you will not be able to interact with it. I'm going to give you some instructions as we get started today so that you know exactly what you can expect. So without further ado, I'll go ahead and start today's presentation. Let's go ahead and start with my contact information so you know how to get a hold of me should you have any questions following today's session. Again, my name is Jenny Allnut, and I work for the Maryland Department of Labor as a job service specialist and a program administrator for reemployment workshops. Please feel free to reach out to me with any questions you have then. So all of the housekeeping things aside, they're important, but let's get to the real reason why we are here today. We're here to talk about how we're feeling related to job loss. This is the agenda that we've scheduled for the workshop. We're going to start by talking about what concerns you the most during this time of unemployment. We're also going to review some stages of job loss. Some of those will look familiar. They may also look like models that you've seen in the past related to stages of grief. We're going to take a look at a self-evaluation, and this is another attachment that you received. I'll talk about the importance of that. I'm going to provide you with a wealth of pandemic resource information. I say pandemic resource information, but it's also just general resource information that's valid anytime. And then we'll talk about the plan of action, which was, again, another attachment that you received. I like to start this workshop with a quote. It really is all about the journey. I think most of us would agree that we never thought we would be attending a workshop called Starting Over After a Job Loss. And when I do these workshops, which are usually in person, but due to current circumstances cannot be done in person, I see a wide range of folks. I see folks who knew that they were going to lose their jobs. They saw it coming. They had some time to prepare. I see people that never saw it coming and thought that they would stay with that same company until they retired. And especially during the time of the pandemic, there have been so many people that I've spoken with on the phone who said, I've worked for this company 20, 25 years, and they had to close. And I have no idea how to start over. And when I try to talk to anyone about it, they really don't understand. That's why I really like this quote by career strategist Nancy Gobber. She says, when a job is lost, downsized, lessened in responsibility or stature, a part of us feels lost too. We experience a loss. Or when we interview for a position that's a dream job, putting our heart and soul into it and come in second or third, we feel the loss. To the person who says, it's just a job, you'll find another one, you respond, you just don't understand. And the truth is, they don't. This is your journey. It's not someone else's journey. Though I always like to say, especially in the first part of this workshop, it's okay to feel your feels. That is okay. And we're going to talk about those things in the first part of our workshop. So the first part really is about our feelings, what we're going through, and then we'll take a break. And after that, we'll talk about how do we move forward and take the next steps. What concerns you the most about your job loss? Again, when these sessions are live, I usually pick up comments in the chat, or you can raise your hand. We don't have that option today since this is a recorded version, but I want you to think about that. What concerns you the most about your job loss? It could be more than one thing, but usually when I asked this question of participants in the workshop, here are some things that they say. I'm concerned about my finances. I really haven't taken a look at things in a while, or I am very aware of what my finances are, and I'm concerned that they might not be adequate while I'm unemployed. People are concerned about how they feel about a potential loss of professional identity. I see that a lot. A lot of people are really connected emotionally to their job, and when they lose their job, they feel lost. There's a sense of feelings of failure. Again, that's really common. And that doesn't have anything to do with whether or not you lost your job because of something you did. You can lose your job, as most of us know, in the state of Maryland for absolutely no reason. Maryland is one of those states that is at will. So that means you can be fired for any reason at all. And that's very disheartening. So whether you got fired for cause or whether it had absolutely nothing to do with you really doesn't mean that you're not going to feel some sense of failure. Will I be able to find another job? What if no one will hire me? These are legitimate questions. Well, what are other people going to think of me? What happens if I have to relocate? I'm not ready for it. I wasn't even thinking about it. And then I do hear a lot of concerns from folks about their age. I'm over a certain age. It's going to be a lot harder for me. How am I going to address that? What strategies can I use to address it? These are all things that are perfectly normal to feel and things that we will be discussing as we move forward in the workshop. So here's a model of the stages of job loss. And again, like I said a little bit earlier, different stages and different models appear. So if you Google this type of information, then you'll be able to see a lot of different models. And this is kind of a compilation, if you will, of several different models. And I wanted to break it out this way because as somebody who's worked in workforce development for a number of years, this is what I see most people experiencing with job loss. So the stages that we're going to talk about today, we're going to start with shock and denial. We're going to move on to anger and then depression. I know that all of that doesn't sound like a whole lot of fun, but it's really very necessary for us to address the feelings related to our job loss. Then, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to move forward after we take a break. We're going to start talking about exploring options, making a plan, and then ultimately getting to a place of acceptance. So this model is here for you. I will bring it up again toward the end of the workshop. The difficulty with the recorded sessions is obviously they're not interactive, so we really can't have any discussion amongst us about how we feel. So all of this is more internal about how you feel. And that's just one of the disadvantages of a pre-recorded workshop. But one of the advantages, of course, is that you can take these workshops anytime that it's convenient for you. So let's start with shock and denial. Obviously, what is shock? It's something unexpected. It's something upsetting. Denial functions as a buffer to protect you from strong emotions. Sometimes we just feel like we have to bat it away because what happens if we really feel it? Shock and denial, signs of that are pushing off looking for applying for jobs, hoping that your employer will reconsider, thinking that job loss is temporary, also not adjusting your spending or lifestyle habits. These are all parts of the denial, actually, more than the shock. But I would say this, I do talk to a lot of people who, when they lose their jobs, and this really was pre-pandemic, what they said was, I just felt sure that I would get called back. I was there 10 years. I had nothing but positive evaluations and reviews. I was well liked. I absolutely believed I would get called back. I believed that my employer would realize they made a mistake, that they needed me, and I would get called back. And that would often prohibit them from being able to move forward. It's something that happens quite a bit. Now, during the pandemic and post-pandemic, I've talked to a lot of people who said, my boss didn't want to let me go, but they didn't have a choice. With things being the way they were, the business either had to downsize or just absolutely close. In cases like that, even then, people sometimes think that they will be able to come back. Maybe the business will rebound after this, but maybe it won't. So all of these are signs of shock and denial. So what do you do about it? How do you overcome it? It's very important that you acknowledge the job loss. It's happened, whether it's permanent or temporary. It's a thing that happened, and you have to come to terms with the fact that it has happened. And the next thing really that I recommend is seeking support. We're going to talk a lot about that as we move forward and what that looks like and the type of support you should seek. As I mentioned in the previous slide, think about lifestyle changes, including curbing your spending. It's something people don't want to think about up front. So they want things to go on just as they were. They want things to be normal. And of course, in this last year, we all have had to learn to adjust to a new normal. So we need to think about how we're spending money. Maybe not as many trips to your local coffee shop, maybe not as many dinners that you're ordering in, maybe reduction in cable service or your telephone cell plan, whatever it might be. And then you need to consider next steps. I will say, however, when you lose a job, the first thing that you shouldn't do is panic. And that generally is the first thing that people do. Don't panic. You don't have to, the very next day or within an hour of finding out you lost your job, start to look for a new one. Actually, I would recommend the opposite. I would recommend taking a little time, taking a pause, taking a breath, coming to terms before you launch right back in. Of course, I say that some of you might not have the luxury or the option of doing that, depending on finances. But generally speaking, even if finances are tight, give yourself a little bit of time to adjust to the actual job loss itself. Let's move on to the next stage of job loss, and that's anger. It's natural to feel angry when you've lost your job. You could have anger that's justified, and you can have anger that is not justified. Again, even in this time of the pandemic, I've talked to so many people who, even though intellectually they know there was nothing that their employer could have done to stop layoffs or even closing of the business, they're angry. They're angry. They're not even really sure who they are angry at. Is it the employer? Is it the business? Is it just the circumstances that we find ourselves in? Those are all legitimate questions. Sometimes you can be angry because you were treated poorly, or you think that you were let go unfairly. All of that's true. And anger is a normal emotion. Nothing necessarily wrong with it. But we'll talk about when it becomes a problem in just a minute. So signs that you're angry, obviously, venting that turns into dwelling, blasting your emotions on social media about your previous employer, frequent and uncontrolled outbursts of anger. A little anger, okay. Any anger that is going on for weeks and weeks or more than a month is starting to become a problem. Before we talk about that in a little bit more depth, let me say something about blasting your emotions on social media. Again, having worked in workforce development for a number of years, this is a cautionary tale that I give to every workshop that I teach. People think that social media is harmless. I think nowadays and in the last few years, we can see that that just is not the case. The social media has a lot of power. Former employers, potential employers, friends, they all go to social media to see what you're saying, what you're thinking. And sometimes when we're upset, we don't use our best judgment. We might say, hey, never patronize XYZ company, or I used to work for ABC company, and let me tell you what I think about that. Just remember that anything that you post on social media about a former employer, a future employer can access. And they're going to say, well, if they said that kind of thing about them, they might say that kind of thing about us. And that's really going to limit your opportunities. The other thing to note, and I don't think we all realize this, is, how often do you see some soundbite online that says, oh, so-and-so, famous celebrity posted this thing, and then there was a lot of controversy surrounding it, and so they took it down. Well, you know what? Once you take it down, you think it's gone forever. That's not right. It's very hard to get rid of something that you've posted on social media. I've talked to a lot of people in cybersecurity. It's not hard to dig into your social media and find out things that you've said. So whether or not it's something you've said or something you've commented on that somebody else has said, or even something that you liked, all of that can come back and be used against you moving forward as you work through your job search. Please think about that. What I would often recommend to people is stay off the social media when you're feeling upset. It's okay to go to the old-fashioned route. Write it down, paper and pencil, write down whatever it is you're feeling. And if you write it down, hold on to that. Wait a couple of days, read it again. I'm going to tell you, 99% of the time when you read it again in a few days, you'll say to yourself, I'm really glad I didn't post that. So what can you do with that paper? Rip it up, burn it, whatever it is, but it does give you the opportunity to write how you feel. So this anger, what do we do with it? What do we do with it if it's gone on more than a month and we just can't get a grip? Recommend that you surround yourself with support from family and friends who understand the challenges and the difficulties that you're going through. I'm going to say more about that again in a couple of minutes. Find another outlet, exercise or meditation. I'm going to tell you, a lot of people like to take up boxing as a form of exercise. It's a great way to get it all out. If you get a punching bag, literally a real punching bag, or take a kickboxing class, a lot of people have said that's really helped them. And then it might be necessary for you to seek professional help. Again, that's something that we're going to talk about as we continue on. Anger, feelings forewarned is forearmed. This is a great quote by Dr. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. She's done a lot of study on job loss and stages of job loss and stages of grief. So being aware of the emotions of loss and knowing how to manage them enables you to keep moving forward. This helps you not to get stuck. If stuck, it helps you get unstuck when you realize that emotions such as anger, sadness, or hopelessness will pass. They will pass. So it's good to recognize them, and it's good to understand that it's okay to have certain feelings. Now, I know that you were very impressed with this artwork. I would like to take credit for it, but if I'm honest with you, I'm terrible at art, and I couldn't even draw something as basic as this. But it's an example that I like to use in this workshop, and it's called the mud hole. So as we've talked already during our previous slides, about seeking out family support and support from friends, that really can be a double-edged sword. Let me explain. So in this fantastically designed graphic, what you see there is the person who is stuck in the mud. That's the person in the middle of this mud hole. And what you see on the left are individuals, and in most cases, those individuals are family and friends. And what they're doing is they're going down into the mud with their friend. There's nothing wrong with going down into the mud with your friend. Sometimes somebody just needs you to be there. That's understandable. Being there is one thing. Wallowing in the mud with someone who is wallowing in the mud isn't helping anyone. So if I'm sitting with you and I'm quiet and I'm just there for you, that's fine. But if I'm sitting with you and you're venting and I'm encouraging that, sometimes that gets misunderstood. I can empathize, I can sympathize, but what I don't want to do is enable you or continue to enable you to stay in the mud. And what you see on the right side is a family member or a friend who's also coming down into the mud. And you see the difference. They're holding onto the roots of this tree. And what they're trying to do is take you by the hand, pull you up. They're trying to pull you up out of the mud. These are the types of folks that you need to surround yourself with when you're going through any type of loss or any type of grief. What we really want to do is hang out with the people on the left. We want people to share our anger. We want people to be as upset as we are. We want our feelings to be validated. And a lot of times we want to stay in the mud because it feels right and it feels fair. If that's where we stay, we'll be completely unable to move forward. So grab the hand of the person on the right who cares about you and wants to help you move forward. And that leads us into another phase of job loss. We've talked about shock and denial. We've talked about anger. And sometimes when shock and denial and anger are being processed, we find that depression follows. It's very common after a job loss. It's a natural transition from the other phases. Again, this is an excellent quote from Dr. Robert Leahy. He says, "Validate your right to feel miserable. You're a human being. You have a right to feel unhappy. When you're standing in line, not so much anymore, but in the past, when you stood in line at the Starbucks, you might have just had the worst day of your life. And the barista says, "How are you doing today?" You couldn't be doing worse. You couldn't be more miserable. But what do we say 9 times out of 10? Great, fine. How about you? We have no idea what the person standing in line behind us or the person behind the counter is going through, how they're feeling. It's okay to feel miserable. It's okay to say, yeah, I'm not okay. When do we need to wonder whether our feelings have kind of crossed over into depression? A little depression, losing your job is normal. When should we start to be a little bit concerned that it might be a little bit more than that? If these feelings have gone on for more than a month, it's probably time to seek some additional help. Some of the signs that you might be in a depression, that you might need some help to get out of, is that you're feeling overwhelmed all the time. You can't focus. Everything seems fuzzy. That's something I hear from a lot of folks. It's fuzzy. I can't concentrate. You're just having feelings of a lack of self-worth. You just feel like there's no value. You have no value. You have nothing to offer. Or maybe you're tired. No matter how much you sleep, you continue to be fatigued. These are all signs that if they've gone on more than a month, that you might need a little bit more help in overcoming them. So how do we do that? Again, it's important to validate your feelings. A lot of people just push it off, and push it off. How else can we overcome it? Seek support from family and friends that you trust, the people on the right side of the mud hole who are trying to pull you up out of it and not stay down there in it with you. Again, if you remain stuck, seek professional help. Are you stuck? Again, if it's gone on more than a month, you probably are stuck. And a lot of times when people come to this realization, it's somebody who has never had to seek any type of professional help. No matter how long we've talked about it and how open we are about it now, people still think there's stigma attached to seeking professional help for emotional issues. And that's really a terrible shame. I'll talk to people who say, you know what, I've never had feelings like this. I've never had to ask for help. I'm embarrassed. I don't want to do it. Another thing I hear is, doesn't matter. Even if that's what you think I should do, I can't afford it anyway. I can't afford that. So forget it. If you're having any thought that you might need to take some extra steps, there are ways to do it that are affordable. I will tell you, I come from the Frederick area, and most counties in the state of Maryland have a mental health association. In Frederick, we have one as well. One of the additional services that our mental health organization offers is a free walk-in behavioral clinic. That is offered 7 days a week. It's free for you to come in and at least get an initial intake. It costs you nothing. Once you do an intake, the person who's working with you on the intake will help you determine whether or not additional professional assistance would be best. And if you say, look, I got no money, I have no way to pay, they will work with you on a sliding scale. Sometimes mental health vouchers can even be obtained, so it doesn't cost you anything for a number of visits. Don't let cost be a factor in not getting additional help if you need it. Getting unstuck. If you're concerned that you don't know where to look for help and you don't know how to pay for it if you need it, please visit the Mental Health Association of Maryland website. I've included it for you here. You all will also have access to today's presentation, so I've sent that to you as the PowerPoint, and you can open all of the hyperlinks that you see are available for you to open. So please feel free to look there and get assistance. And what I always say is maybe this information isn't what you need, but maybe you know someone else who does need it. All right. Since we are not together today in person, and this is not a live workshop, I'm going to invite you to take 2 minutes, about 2 minutes and 24 seconds, I think is how long this clip is, to take a look at Fraser's response to job loss. You can do that on the recorded version if you want. I gave you instructions, but I can go ahead and open it for you anyway, even though we aren't live. So I'm going to take us out and I'm going to take us over and we're going to share this video together. A little bit of levity after some pretty heavy talk so far. Here we go.
All right. Here we go. Come on, open up. Open up. No? Well, if you're not hungry, not hungry. All right. Wow. It's actually pretty good together. Let's try that. See, what's that you have in your sippy cup there? Is that apple juice? Oh, all right, enough. Turn it off. Well, I guess maybe you're right. I am depressed. What of it? Well, we're just trying to help you to get to, the next stage. Stage of what?
Fraser, I think you're dealing with the loss of your job, as many people do with a death. Only you've got yourself stalled in depression, and I think you're going to stay there until you let yourself grieve for everything you've lost. Job, your friends, the money, your reputation.
Gotta let it out, Fraser.
Well, I thank you all very much for your concern, but you know what? If I was repressing anything, I would certainly know it. The only thing I need to let out is so-called big and tall lounge pants.
Well, that went well.
Yeah, well, we gave it a shot.
What do we do now?
Well, we can't push him. If he's not ready, he's not ready.
What was that? Was that Fraser?
If anyone's hungry, there's a freshly made Monte Cristo in the waffle press. Oh, great. Thanks, Frege.
Dr. Crane, you all right?
Yes,
Are you sure?
I'm quite sure.
Fraser, you're not famous anymore. No, Dad, he needed a push.
But look at him. This can't be good.
No, it is good. Let it all out, Fraser. Let it all out. That's good. That's right. Let it out. Okay. All right. Yeah. Oh, that's probably enough now. Okay.
How much more could be in there?
Okay. All right. Yeah. Oh, that's probably enough now. Okay. I don't think I can get him to stop.
But this is sickening.
What are we gonna do?
Somebody get that Monte Cristo in here.
Fraser, it's all in how you look at things. Look at my life.
No career, no relationship, no hope.
You can say the same thing about me.
I was talking about you.
All right. So, it is not a laughing matter, obviously, that we're here today because we're experiencing job loss. I'd just like to throw this clip in for levity. You can go back to it at any time if you find that it helps you out. So since we have had some pretty heavy conversation to this point about job loss, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and say, let's take a 10-minute break. Just take a 10-minute break. Think about what we've talked about so far. Any questions that you have, again, since we're recorded, I'm not going to be able to take those today, but I really encourage you to write down any questions that you may have. And remember, you can always reach out to me via email, and I'll be happy to get back with you. So let's go ahead and take a 10-minute break, and I'll see you back in 10. Hi, welcome back, everyone. We're going to go ahead and continue on with the workshop. I know that the first part was heavy because it's all about feeling the feels. Those are difficult things to think about and difficult things to do as well. So I appreciate your processing through that first part. And like I've said, even though we're not live today, I want you to know that you can feel free to reach out to me via email. You can also call, but I am not working in the office at this time. The easiest way to get through to me is via email. So we're going to move forward and we're going to talk about the other stages of job loss. And I'm going to ask you to pull up something that I sent to you as an attachment a little bit earlier. So I'm going to show that to you now. I'm going to ask everybody to pull up the self-evaluation. This is for your personal use. So if you could pull that up now, I would appreciate this. Go ahead and do that for me. And let's talk a little bit about that. So if you haven't had a chance to do it, it doesn't take very long to do. I'd really like for you to go ahead and fill it out. I'd like for you to spend a few minutes doing that, but in advance of your taking a couple minutes with that, let me just talk a little bit about the importance of self-evaluation and awareness. The self-evaluation and awareness is important for so many reasons during this time. You need to be honest about your feelings. We've talked about that and the cause of your job loss. You have to face it, but not dwell on it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So think about it enough to understand what you feel and the best way to respond. Then start to focus on something that's positive. So some of the things that you'll see on that evaluation, we'll talk about what are my finances looking like right now? What are my transferable skills looking like at this time? What does my career path seem to be moving forward? So please go ahead and take 5 minutes with that. I know we just came up off of a break, but I'm going to give you 5 minutes to go ahead and address that. And then I want to say a few things more about it as we go forward. So please take 5 minutes with this. Thank you. All right, we're coming back from completing that evaluation. You have a little bit more time with it, but I want to go ahead and talk about a couple of things that you're going to see there. I was showing it as you were going along, so if you didn't receive the self-evaluation for some reason, again, you're seeing it now. You can always send me an email, ask me to send this to you again. I think it's so important for so many reasons, as I said before. So hopefully you've done the evaluation. You're kind of seeing where you are right now, what might be some critical areas that you need to focus on during this time. One of the things that I see over and over again with job seekers, doesn't matter whether you've had a job for 5 months or 40 years, most people do not keep up with skill sets in their areas of expertise, so that when job loss occurs, they find themselves not up to speed with credentialing or certifications in their field. They find that they haven't put together a resume in maybe 5 or 6 years, or maybe 30 years, depending. And that's where folks start to realize it's short-sighted. I always say that you need to stay up to date, especially with your resume. Update your resume at least once a year. I would recommend every 6 months. So you need to create a master resume. And in creating a master resume, when you do that, then you can just continue to go forward and update it with skills that you have. Again, with credentialing and certifications, that strikes people, but not until after the fact. What happens is you lose your job, either expectedly or unexpectedly, and then all of a sudden you start looking on search engines and you're finding jobs and you're seeing certifications and credentialing you don't have. The negative in that is you don't have it, you got to get it, and a lot of times it costs money that you don't have right now during this time. So that's why it's so important. I can give you a specific example about a project manager I know. He'd been with his particular company for over 15 years, and he knew that he was going to leave that job. He was given an early retirement option, but he was not in a place where he could actually retire. So he wanted to take that option, and he wanted to take the financial benefit along with it. And he was a certified project manager, which is good because that's a PMP and that's a good credential to have in your field. He happened to be non-technical IT. So that all being said, even as he knew when his job was coming to an end, he really wasn't focusing on the next job. And part of the reason was that he thought he had a job lined up already. So he thought he had everything he needed and he didn't need anything more. Well, I spoke to him again after the fact, and what happened was that other job fell through. This was right around the time that the pandemic hit. So that job fell through, and all of a sudden he had to start looking for something else. And when he did, he started to see a lot of credentials that he didn't possess. And again, all of those credentials cost thousands of dollars, and he was going to have to pay for that. And then there are going to be fresh credentials. So any employer is going to see that you just got that credential and you haven't been working with that for a while. The other thing I see is people let credentials and certifications lapse. And then again, you find yourself in this position where money might be tight and you don't have the funds to move forward with it. What I want to say about that is that if that's where you find yourself now, and you know that you are lacking a specific credential or certification that might make you more marketable, but you don't have the funds for it, you can work with your local American Job Center. And I'm going to give you a link that will show a list of all the American Job Centers across the state of Maryland. So you just have to find the one that is in your county of origin. That's important because grant funding and training opportunities are generally available to you in your county of origin. So you might actually end up finding that this type of credential or certification you need can be paid for by the county or the state, and it won't cost you anything. But again, that's a little putting the cart after the horse. And what you want to do is you want to go ahead and make sure that you keep information up to date, that you keep skill sets up to date, that you have a resume. The other thing I mentioned that's not job search related on the self-evaluation list is the financial piece, because it's heavy. A lot of folks don't live on a budget. They don't even think about a budget until something like this hits, and then money's not coming in. Maybe you're receiving unemployment, and for a lot of people, unemployment is half or less than what they used to make before. And it's a dramatic impact on what you're bringing in. So people need to really take a look at those finances, and sometimes when they do, it can get to be a little bit scary. So again, this self-evaluation is for you, and then it's really a good lead into what I want to show you next, which are resources related to just about anything that you might need during this time or in the future. So what you're going to see first is a financial relief guide for Marylanders. If you open this link, and again, everybody will have the PowerPoint for today, and you can open these links because they are live. This is going to take you to the Maryland Department of Labor Financial Relief Guide for Marylanders. It is a wealth of information for you. All kinds of things in the guide, from credit reporting to stimulus payment information, information on unemployment, what to do if you're concerned about being evicted, that type of thing, transportation information, just a ton of information there. So that's available for you. Check that out at your leisure. I want to go into some more sites. I've done a lot of research and compiling of websites and information, and I want to go ahead and share that with you as well. So back to the financial piece. Financial resources and strategies, really important. I'm older. I've lived on a budget my entire married life, and I've been married a long time. And the reason that is that my husband is in finance. So it's always something that, he wanted to know what money was coming in and what money was going out. And back when we were first married, there weren't fancy spreadsheets and Excel or anything like that, but we have it there now. So it's always been a little bit tricky, keep up with the checkbook and all of that. Most of us don't even use checkbooks anymore. But I could say in retrospect that I'm grateful for that, because I know where my money goes. A lot of us don't know where our money goes. So it's time to take a look at your budget. Adjustments might have to be made right now. The things that you were thinking of doing, the dining out or ordering out, things of that nature, charitable deductions, maybe vacations were planned. Maybe we'll have to pull back on that. I always recommend that you don't immediately lose your job and then go take a vacation, unless it's something that you've already paid in advance and there's no way out of it. That sometimes is a tendency that people will have. They blow several $1,000s on a vacation that they just can't afford because they want to feel better. Contact your creditors. That's something that you can do. Most creditors will work with you. They would rather have something than nothing, and they can't know how to help you if you don't reach out to them. Okay, so if you have money in savings, then maybe you'll need to use that. Again, I'm not a financial planner. You can contact a financial planner. Most financial planners will sit down and talk with you, at least initially, for free. The state of Maryland actually has financial planning for you that is free. So I'll show you a website for that in a minute. So I'm not telling you to tap into IRAs or 401ks. All of those things do come with some penalties. But I do know from past experience that sometimes there are no options and people do have to tap into things. But I would strongly recommend that you work with a financial advisor to assist you with that. So this will take you, this slide shows information about the Cash Campaign of Maryland. All of this, again, is free resource information for residents of the state of Maryland. And it does include assistance in financial planning and budgeting, information about what to do if you're concerned about losing your home or you can't pay your rent, debt consolidation, things of that nature. So I'm not going to go to this site, but again, the hyperlinks are live. Feel free to check that out. Well, let's move on and talk about resources related to personal and family well-being. Again, this is one of those tricky things that people experience when they lose a job. If you have minor children at home, when you lose your job, whether you saw that coming or not, there are all of a sudden concerns about what are we going to do about daycare. We had daycare already in place, whether that's in a private home or in a center, and now maybe half of our income is gone and we really can't afford it. So you're left with a tough decision, because a lot of you know, if you've been through this, that if you give up your spot, that you're not going to get it back. And daycare is difficult. Quality daycare is difficult to find. So what do? You can't pay for it. You might have to give up the spot. Well, now you're ready to re-enter the workforce and you need help. You might need financial help. You might need help locating childcare. Again, here are some resources for you, information through the state in terms of childcare vouchers and scholarships. The Maryland Family Network is a good resource. In Frederick, again, where I'm from, through the Mental Health Association, they have something called Child Care Choices. Child Care Choices can help you locate daycare in the Frederick area. Child care vouchers, as I mentioned, are available through the Department of Human Services through the state of Maryland. And you can also contact your local Department of Social Services for additional resource information. So all of the links that I'm providing today take you statewide. So that way you can go there and you can look for your individual counties. I do hear from a lot of people my age who are well, maybe not so much me anymore, but a lot of people are in what they call the sandwich generation. They have minor children living at home and they have aging parents who need help. And that can be overwhelming, especially when you're also working full time. So this page has some additional resources for you related to adult and dependent care. Healthcare is huge during this time. There are a lot of things that people understand and they don't understand about healthcare as it relates to your job. So one of the things I would strongly recommend that you make a note to yourself regarding on that self-evaluation checklist is, have you taken a look at the company handbook? The one that you should have gotten when you had your job. Most of us get some sort of a handbook when we receive a job, and most of us don't look at it very thoroughly. We might initially look at it to see what our benefits are and what our leave situation is, but many of us don't think to look at it when it's time to leave a job or when we unexpectedly lose a job. There's important information in your handbook about your medical coverage. If you were receiving healthcare coverage through your employer, this is a case-by-case basis. Some employers will carry your insurance for you for the rest of the month. A lot of employers will offer extended coverage for you through something called COBRA. That's extended benefit coverage. Most of us know, however, that COBRA is extremely cost prohibitive. You're going to pay pretty much the double rate. So not only are you going to pay what you were contributing, you're also going to pay the employer's contribution. So many people find that that is not an affordable option. Where does that leave you? I recommend that you check out Maryland Health Connection. There's information on the Maryland Healthcare Connection about the Affordable Health Care Act, what that means to you, and how you might be able to obtain insurance during your time of unemployment. It's really important to note that they do have open enrollment. Usually that's at the end of the year. If you have a life-changing event, such as a job loss, you can pursue it before the open enrollment period. However, there is a window, and most people don't know about that window. What I mean by that is that you do need to have some decision related to your health care within 60 days of losing it. Most people don't know that. So I'm not a subject matter expert here. If you need assistance, if you need help to apply for this type of healthcare insurance, I've given you both a phone number as well as the website. Again, local to the Frederick area, I know that they have healthcare navigators at both the Department of Social Services as well as the Health Department. So connect with them and they will be happy to help you determine what you may be eligible for. We've mentioned before the Mental Health Association of Maryland, so there's links there for information on getting assistance if you should need help in that area. Community resources are available throughout the state of Maryland through something called Maryland 211. This is a nationwide hotline. In Maryland, it's 211, where you can go to get resource information 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days of the year. Someone will answer the phone. If you're having a medical emergency, don't call this number, call 911. We've talked about housing before. If you need some information on different things that you're concerned about related to your housing, potential foreclosure, maybe you're trying to restructure a loan, there are some resources here with live links for you to check out for additional assistance. Let's talk about legal assistance for a few minutes. I do see folks that need some assistance in this area for a variety of reasons. So I do want to connect you with information. I won't go over all of the sites here that you see, but I will mention Maryland Legal Aid. Maryland Legal Aid will provide services for you related to non-criminal matters. That's important for you to know. And their services are free if you qualify. How do you know if you qualify? It's income-based. So you can reach out to Maryland Legal Aid at their website. And again, it will narrow down the legal aid in your county so that you can reach out to them directly. The other one that I'll mention here is the Maryland Commission on Civil Rights. You'll see that at the bottom, as well as the U.S. Equal Opportunity Commission. If you feel that you were discriminated against on your former job, or if you feel that you are owed back money for vacation time or money that you didn't receive, you can reach out to the Maryland Commission on Civil Rights and you can file a complaint. Most people don't think that they can fight losing their job. That's kind of a different question since Maryland is at will. But if you're owed something, you can certainly pursue that. So those are opportunities for you. I'd also like to mention something called the Federal Bonding Program. This is a nationwide initiative that offers incentives to employers to take a chance on hiring potential job seekers who may have some type of a background issue. If you have a background issue, you know that it's difficult to find work. And people might not want to take a chance on you. What can you do? This is just an extra added layer to assist you moving forward. So you may be eligible for the federal bonding program if you're someone who was formerly incarcerated, maybe you had substance abuse issues, you've been a recipient of welfare, you have difficulty with credit, and there are some other things listed there on the slide. It's not a guarantee of employment, but the way it works, if you're interested in finding out more, go to the link that you see there at the bottom of the page, and then attach to your local American Job Center and say, I'm interested in a bonding letter. What does it do for you? Okay, when you make application for a bonding letter, it's very simple. It's just one sheet of paper, and then you do have to have an account in the Maryland Workforce Exchange. We've all talked about that already today, because everyone needs an account in the Maryland Workforce Exchange in order to receive credit for today's workshop. Just aside for a second on the Maryland Workforce Exchange, a lot of people try to access it through the mobile app. You can do that, but to register, I find that most people don't have success doing it through the mobile app. So I would recommend that you use your laptop for that purpose. But once you complete the application for the bonding letter, a state of Maryland employee at your local American Job Center will get that bonding letter to you, and it's good for a 6-month period. What it does is it incentivizes employers to take a chance on hiring you by providing them with 6 months of liability insurance against any type of loss. So in most cases, it's a win-win. They'll take a chance on hiring you. You deserve a second chance. You do a great job. You've got a job moving forward. So please take advantage of it. Bonding letters can be reissued every 6 months. And you don't have to be somebody who's receiving unemployment to get a bonding letter. You just have to be a state of Maryland resident who needs one and fills out the application and registers in the Maryland Workforce Exchange. I do want to mention transportation because it is one of the things that I hear over and over again that is a barrier for people getting work. I can't get to work. I don't have any reliable or affordable transportation. I'm not sure what to do about it. I don't have a bus stop nearby where I need to go. If that is the case for you, again, I've put another link here to the Maryland Department of Human Services Transportation Assistance Program. I keep plugging Frederick only because I'm from Frederick. So those of you in the Frederick area, I will mention that there is a local nonprofit called Second Chances Garage. And Second Chances Garage works with individuals who need to find a reliable transportation at an affordable cost. So that's Second Chances Garage. You Google them, you'll find out more. I can't say whether or not other counties offer something similar, but it certainly is worth looking into. So now that we've discussed resources, that's part of exploring options in all types of areas, I want to go a little bit further. Before I do, this is part, I want to show you Georgia's approach to job search as it relates to exploring options.
It's the last straw. So what are you going to do now? You going to look for something else in real estate? Nobody's hiring now. The market's terrible. So what are you going to do? I like sports. I could do something in sports. In what capacity? You know, like the general manager of a baseball team. Yeah, well, that can be tough to get. Well, it doesn't even have to be the general manager. Maybe I could be like an announcer, like a color man. You know how I always make those interesting comments during the game? Yeah, you make good comments. So what about that? Well, you know, they tend to give those jobs to ex-ball players and people that are, you know, in broadcasting. Well, that's really not fair. Well, okay. What else do you like? Movies. I like to watch movies. Yeah. Do they pay people to watch movies? Projectionists. That's true. But you gotta know how to work the projector. Right. And it's probably a union thing. Those unions. Okay, sports, movies. What about a talk show host? Talk show host, that's good. I think I'd be good at that. I talk to people all the time. Someone even told me once they thought I'd be a good talk show host. Really? Yeah, a couple of people. How do you get that, though? Where do you start? Well, that's where it gets tricky. You can't just walk into a building and say, I want to be a talk show host. I wouldn't think so. It's all politics. All right, okay. Sports, movies, talk show hosts. What else? This could have been a huge mistake.
Why do I show this clip? I like to show this in my reemployment workshop as well. I show this clip because George is very typical of the types of folks who come into American Job Centers, or the types of folks that give us a call on the phone. They give us a call, or they walk in when our centers are open, and they approach our staff say, how can we help you? And the job seeker says, well, I need a job. Well, great. What do you do? I need a job. Okay. Well, what do you do? I just need a job. So people do not want to commit to what it is they do. A lot of people are driven by salary. And there's nothing wrong with that if a job is a good fit, but salary can't be the only factor. I tell people this. I teach federal job workshop as well. And when I teach that workshop, most people will tell me, I just want to look for jobs that pay over $100,000 a year. Again, there's nothing wrong with that, but is that job a good fit for you? Have you done any research on it? Do you know whether that's going to work out? And the worst thing to do is take a job for the sake of taking a job and then find out within 6 weeks that it was a poor fit, and then you are having to go back and start to look again. I know that we all are anxious about finding reemployment, but I can't tell you how many people I've heard back from in my reemployment workshops who've taken that advice, who've waited just a little while longer until the right job came. And that just prohibits you from having to start all over. So what do you do? What do you do if you can't go back to what you used to do before? Or maybe you don't want to do that job anymore, but you have no idea what to do. You have no idea how to take your transferable skills into a new job. I always recommend that you take some free online assessments. People don't want to do this. They think it's some sort of a test. It's not a test. It's not a pass or fail situation. These types of assessments just look at your interests, your skills, and your abilities, your values. And then when you take these assessments, they give you a list of occupations that would be well suited to you based on what you say. So take a moment to take those types of assessments. They'll really assist you. I'll also mention that through your local American Job Center or Career One Stop, they really are the same thing. Almost all of the American Job Centers have employment and training specialists, career coaches, or career counselors. Those terms are really interchangeable. And when you work with the American Job Center, sometimes there are eligibility requirements. None of them cost you any money. It generally requires you being enrolled in a federal grant. It doesn't cost you anything, but what you get from that are opportunities to pursue training, potentially grant funded that you wouldn't have to pay back, and also opportunities to work one-on-one with an employment and training specialist to help you develop a blueprint to make a plan to help you move forward. And that person supports you while you move forward in your job endeavors and with any potential training requests that you might have. It's all part of making a plan. So if you want to learn more about that, again, that is individual to specific American Job Centers. So you'd need to go to that list that I'm going to show you in a few minutes, identify your American Job Center, and reach out to them to get additional information. Networking, it's what it's all about in terms of making that plan. I can't emphasize it enough. I did grow up in an environment where you did for yourself. You didn't ask anyone for any help. You just pulled yourself up from your bootstraps and you did on your own. Nowadays, we hear over and over again, repeatedly, that it's not what you know, it's who you know. And there's a lot of truth in that. So it's very important to network. This slide just gives you some opportunities to pursue in terms of networking. I've mentioned the American Job Centers repeatedly. Many American Job Centers, including the one in Frederick, offer job clubs. Job clubs are free. They are opportunities to meet a couple of times a month, sometimes even once a week. I know a lot of them are being offered virtually now. I can't say that all American Job Centers offer this service, but some do. It's worth looking into. It's great support. LinkedIn, if you're not on it, get on it. I just can't say enough about that. LinkedIn is a professional networking site, and it doesn't matter what you do, from manufacturing to IT and everything in between. Potential employers are going to LinkedIn. Recruiters are going to LinkedIn over 92% of the time to look for candidates. LinkedIn doesn't cost you anything for the basic service. I am a fan, however, of the premium service. That costs about $30 a month. It has some value that goes beyond basic, including the opportunities with something called InMail, where you can reach out to potential recruiters and employers directly. And then we'll give you a free month trial with it. All you have to do is give them a credit card number after 30 days. If you don't think it's done anything for you, then you can shut that off. I will mention, if you are a veteran, LinkedIn does provide a free year of their premium service to veterans. Go to LinkedIn, check it out. If you need help to create a LinkedIn profile, LinkedIn has tutorials through their site. Also, many American Job Centers offer LinkedIn connection classes. I know that Hagerstown does that. I know that Frederick will do it live once they reopen their American Job Centers, but they do have an outline for it on their website. You can reach out to the Professional Outplacement Assistance Center through the state of Maryland. They offer great resources, but they do require that you attend a Jumpstart program with them prior. So you'll see the link right there. Reach out to your local Chamber of Commerce for potential in-person and virtual networking events. Volunteering is a great way to network and make connections to try on a potential new job. I've given you a list of volunteer.maryland, the website, where you can go to find volunteer opportunities in your area. Networking cards are always good. I could see from this slide, Vistaprint is listed on here. So you can reach out to Vistaprint. They are, they have really good resources, and they're not too costly. So reach out to Vistaprint there. I see from my slide that I also have information on the AARP. I kind of have two things in one here. So I'm going to correct that while I'm seeing it. And what I would say with the AARP is don't get your feelings hurt if you hear from the AARP before you are ready to hear from them. They start soliciting people in their 30s. That's how I started to hear from them. So reach out to the AARP. They have great information through a plan called Life Reimagined. They have good resources for those of us who are over a certain age. So feel free to check them out as well. American Job Centers, I've mentioned them throughout our time together today, also known as Career One-Stops. Some of the additional services that you see there. These services really are dependent upon whether certain centers are open. Most centers, depending on when you're hearing this recorded version, are still closed. If you want to know whether the centers are open, then what you're going to do is find your specific center. Again, I've been telling you I'd give you that link. The list of Unstuck Career Centers is here for you. And when you open that up, then you'll be able to find out where you can go in your county for additional information. Everybody has homework that I gave you. That homework is an action plan. So I'd like you to, in the interest of time, I won't just take time away because we're almost done with our time today, but I really want you to take time with this action plan. It won't take that long, less than 10 minutes. The action plan just asks you to assess where you are with your resume, where are you with your cover letter, where are you with your social media connections, where are you with your networking connections? Do you have a personal board of directors? What is a personal board of directors? Those are confidants, trusted peers, and advisors who you can go to for advice. These are things that will help you moving forward. So please take time to work on that action plan. That will help you move forward in next steps. As we start to wrap it up, the stages of job loss we've talked about today. Again, starting with shock and denial, moving on toward anger, depression, then moving out to exploring options, making a plan, and finally getting to a place of acceptance. This is a great quote from A Strange Place. The American Chemistry Society actually has some really good information about job loss, and this is a really good quote. So I'm going to take just a moment to read it. There is life after job loss. The period between jobs can be a time of growth and renewal, a time to make a new beginning. The message from those surviving job loss is a positive one. You emerge with increased self-knowledge, fresh career perspectives, and redefined priorities. Looking for a new position can be a lengthy process and one that taxes emotions and finances. Find ways to keep the flame of self-renewal burning. Be kind to yourself, both in body and spirit. Acknowledge your frustrations and disappointments. Try to have patience. Remind yourself that things worth being are better than things worth having. Consider any day that contains something of beauty, love, discovery, or growth a day well spent. I couldn't say it any better. That's why I wanted to offer you that quote. Mourning your job loss. We've talked a lot about that today. I'm not going to read this, but that's there for you to look at moving forward. But before I wind it up with a couple of other things, I just want to tell you that we are here through your local American Job Centers through the state of Maryland to provide whatever assistance we're able to in your time of job search. Reach out, take advantage of the resources. People that work in this type of environment really do care. So believe me, they are not doing it for the paycheck. They're doing it because they want to help people. Just some reminders for my RECE participants. You do need to return your check for understanding by 4 o'clock today in order for you to receive credit for the workshop. For my folks who are not RECE, you need to do a couple of things as well. You do need to return the Maryland Workforce Exchange questionnaire that you received, as well as the check for understanding. You will also need to make sure, if you've not already done so, you should have already done so, but if you've not already done so, you need to have created an account in the Maryland Workforce Exchange. Remember what I said, better not to do it through the mobile app. It's better to do it through your laptop. So finally, in wrapping it all up, take some time. Take a little time after you've lost your job to process that. Expect a range of emotions. Don't go it alone. Learn to accept what you cannot change. Think creatively, stay flexible, take risks, and don't be afraid of failure. Connect to resources, network. Thank you all for being a part of today's workshop. Please reach out to me if I can provide any additional assistance for you. I wish you all the best. Thank you and take care.